Hello, hello. It's Marie and Ah. Welcome to another episode of Marie and Ah. Wait, I just said that. So I have some tools I want to share with you guys. And before we get into that, I like to start with our activating awe, grounding and elevating practice, right? Okay. So, you ready? Here we go. Soul activate awe. Hmm. Body activate awe. Hmm. Heart activate awe. Hmm. Mind activate awe. Hmm. Hmm. Thank you for experiencing that with me. Um, yeah, I've actually been playing around with extending the ah sounds. Um, so maybe I'll do that for the next podcast. So I hope everyone is grounding themselves and or elevating themselves more as we approach the chaotic holiday season. It's so funny because seasonally speaking, the winter time, at least here in the Western Hemisphere, I'm based in Austin, Texas. So here in the United States, um, it is winter, and typically we associate winter with a time for rest, a time for death, a time for renewal, a time for hibernation, right? Somehow, in this weird, twisted, perverse way, we've made it the opposite of that, where we jam in quite a few holidays in a short period of time that is meant for those other ideas in terms of seasons, which is again like resting, right? And that's indicated to us by the darkness, right? We have less light, we have more darkness. Our days are shorter, our nights are longer, yet we keep pushing ourselves through the darkness, through the tiredness, because we think we're supposed to. Ooh, supposed to. Okay. I am unsubscribing to that. So I'm just going to do what I'm going to do with me and my family, and we will align with our values when we make decisions. And I'm going to do a special shout out to Audra, who was in my workshop earlier this morning. We did this experience around writing our autobiographies backwards from death. And so that was one of the kernels of truths that came out for her at the end of the whole experience. So thanks, Audra, for that. Her takeaway of just simply making decisions aligning with our values. So I'm going to jump all over the place here because that's just what I do and who I am, and I'm okay with that. So I'm going to segue into this because this is on my wall in front of my desk. So from what Audra said in terms of making decisions, I have this written up on my wall. I don't know if you can see it. It's a Post-it note with a question. It says, how do I know exactly what to do and say? And I used to have just a sentence that says, I know exactly what to do and say. But I think with a prompt, it shifts it, right? The body responds differently to prompts. The mind responds differently to prompts. The heart responds differently to prompts. The energy responds differently to prompts. And how prompts, I think, help even more so than just statements or affirmations or ideas that end with a full stop, is that's it. There's a full stop. It kind of feels stagnant in a sense. Whereas prompts allow for our whole being to respond to it in the moment. And why I believe that's important is that it creates opportunity for movement and evolution, right? And with prompts, for me at least, when I look at that, it is both grounding. So, grounding with my feet on the ground, grounding through the mind. And it's also elevating because I'm allowed to access imagination. I'm allowed to access other energies in the ethers. So to me, prompts have proven far more valuable than just statements, right? As I've shared in one of my episodes, facts have expiration dates too, right? And I feel like statements kind of fall under that umbrella. Like when we make a statement, it feels so factual. It feels so said with conviction. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's beautiful. I think that's proud. I think that's bold energy. And it serves the moment well. And for those who are in the practice of aligning with evolution, so when you ask a prompt, perhaps the feeling is the same for a period of time. And then that feeling and that energy and the action and reaction and the responses shift over time as you become a different person every day, every week, every month, every year. So that's why I like questions and prompts. And I was reminded of this morning as well. As a little girl. I was just sharing in the workshop earlier too, that I recall being this, 7-year-old girl sitting at the adult table with just beautiful minds and powerful people. And so I would sit there as a little girl and just ask them questions. And I could see that it would make them wiggle in their seats a little bit and got them into a thoughtful mode, into a processing mode, into a reflecting mode, and then into a sharing mode, right? And they would have a hard time resisting or even defending themselves when the prompts were coming from a little girl. And so I kind of saw that was like the beginning of how I understood the power of prompts. A prompt can shift ideas, can shift momentum, can support all of those things too. But there is like extra boosters behind prompts, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put that back here. How do I know exactly what to do and say? And I'll be honest with you, like with my podcasts, a lot of these I'll have a kernel, a seed, an idea. And then I allow the rest to flow. And for me, it's a part of that practice of just surrendering to the moment while also wanting to share a couple of main ideas while allowing the rest to organically form, to create webs of thoughts, ideas of living, of being, of conversing, even though I'm conversing with myself. I'm sort of conversing with y'all. Speaking of which, I'm excited to have guests soon. Yay. So going back to the prompts thing. Okay. Whoops. There goes my computer. Yeah, prompts allow for the messiness and the braveness of the ever-evolving human as a solo being and as a social being too. So I wanted to share some things. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. So for the past, I want to say since the spring 2023, I wrote out these cards, and they're sort of like, you know, we talked about affirmations, but they're prompts, right? And these prompts allow a response from me every time. I've tried doing the sentences, and it, for me personally, flatlines a little bit. And so every time, I've been doing this every morning for the past few months. So what is it, November? Maybe like the past 8 or 9 months. And there's like still juice in my body of wanting to respond every time it hears a question. It like hooks your brain a little bit differently, hooks your energy, your heart space, your physicality differently. So I'm going to get real personal, and I'm going to share what I wrote. There's a few questions, and my hope is that you will see if a similar process makes sense for you, is accessible to you with your own questions, right? With your own desires and dreams and ways of how you want to show up in the world. Okay, here we go. I'm a little bit scared and shy, but that's okay. All right. So I say this every morning. How do I have the best, kind, loving, creative, sweet, curious children in the world? And then I take a deep breath. And immediately the images of my 2 children come up, Daisy and Max. And their energy, I can see it's radiating. I feel it. I also give it. And there is a deep sense of gratitude. Sometimes my mind will go into recent happenings or happenings from further past when they were younger. Okay. How do I have my soulmate beside me, loving me, and me loving him? So that prompt has been super helpful, and it's also been challenging at times because my husband and I have had a challenging past couple of months where there was a possibility of us not choosing each other for the next round of our marriage. So we've been together for about 9 years, and it was, I kind of paused reading that for a while. And because it didn't feel resonant, and that's okay. And I've started to read it again. And so as we have decided that what I'm calling our second marriage to each other, this is a new marriage, right? This is book 2 of our marriage. I've started reading that again, and my body responds well to it. Sometimes I have a little bit of anxiety, but I breathe into that and I see his face, I see my face, and we are in each other's energetic spheres when I read that prompt. All right, next one is, how do I have the best parents who show up for me in the best ways? I've had very supportive parents in a lot of ways. Um, Sometimes I wish I have expectations. I'm only human, right? And so there are, I've been infected by movies and shows and books that I read in terms of how a parent should show up and how I want them to show up. And so they have infiltrated my expectations and became an unreasonable guide for how parents who are humans show up in my world. And so I've been coming to terms with that more and more as I grow up, I guess, or mature. And so this question, like, who show up for me in the best ways that they know how, this is like honoring them as humans first and foremost, and then parents secondly. And so that question has opened up my heart more and more to them in terms of giving and receiving. Gosh, these are real personal, guys. Mm. All right, here we go. Dang. I have that in there. Dang. Okay. Dang. How do I get to continue to attract forward thinking, doing creative opportunities with energetically and values and soul aligned loving beings? Hmm. And with this, there are opportunities that come up, but have you ever felt off about something? And when you feel off, unsettled, uncentered, a little bit resistant, right? It's not a resounding, like all in, like there's still some questions around it. And that's okay. There's an offness that is like, definitely not. And there's an offness that requires curiosity to dive in deeper. And then there's just alignment, right? This like synchronistic moment of the right place at the right time with the right people, where it is like your body is juicy and alive. And that to me is like the most obvious and exciting. But it also leaves room for when we are curious and entertain the idea of opportunities. So I like that question. And so when I say that out loud, I feel into what would an aligned, juicy, full body yes feel like? And tap into that. All right, next question. How do I have amazing homes surrounded by nature, loved ones, and fun culture wherever I live? And what I love about this is I tend to go back to I've lived in a lot of places, a lot of different homes and apartments and things like that. And so my brain goes all the way back to childhood memories or my early 20s and 30s up to now. And it engages with the nature aspect of it and the fun culture aspect of it as well. And then my being also projects into the future. I have this vision of a home in a tropical kind of setting with lush jungle, the beach, and mountains present, right? With my family and best friends living around. And I see that and I feel that. And so that is part of the what the prompt brings up. It always goes from the past to the future as if the future is already done. So That's exciting. Oh, while appreciating being in the present in this house too. So that's important too. How do I have all the financial resources, social connections, support, and love to live my dream life? So when I read this out loud, my body just kind of like is this magnet, and all the love and radiance and energy and resources and access and privilege just flood through me, and it nourishes my being, my nervous system. And it is such a beautiful gift because then that gets passed to anyone and everyone I am serving as well. All right, how do I get to travel and stay in the most beautiful places and meet the most loving, generous people? Again, my mind goes to the past where this has already happened, as well as future places I want to go, and like being in that energy and living it. And so I love that my mind just like plays with these experiences and visuals and energies, and it's it excites me. And the beautiful thing is that it also leaves room for mystery and surrender, right? That's in questions, there's pockets of space that leaves room for that. Whereas I believe like statements or affirmations may not offer as much space necessarily. That's just my opinion. Fight me. Okay. How do I have such a strong, loving, diverse group of people who I love and would do anything for me? And I feel this deeply in my heart. I've been surrounded by diverse minds, diverse hearts, diverse bodies, diverse energies, diverse beings. And I think it's in those diversities that we find resonance while learning and growing with each other. And I think to me that curiosity and respect and love is what makes the world go around, man. All right, next. How is my body so healthy, strong, toned, fit, and loving? Okay, I don't know if you notice, for those who are on YouTube, whenever I read out, my body immediately postures and I stand straighter. And then I just feel joy in my body. I feel so healthy. And the thing that comes up is like how I take care of my body and my body takes care of me. That is like the usual frame of what occurs in my being whenever I read that. And then I start to get excited for like dancing and movement and things like that. How do I have so many amazing friends, acquaintances, colleagues, mentors, and champions? Oh, there is an army beside, behind, above, around me. And anytime I feel like I'm alone or lonely, it's because I've forgotten how much support I actually receive. And I think here in the States, especially, there's the idea of like self-made millionaire, right? And I laugh at that anytime I see that in writing or anyone says that, because I'm just like, they forgot to thank their freaking village. And so to me, it's just remembering I have a village of people, and I bet you do too. It's just we forget in the moment sometimes when we are feeling suspended between here or there, neither here or there. And this question grounds me to the beauty of being part of a collective, part of people. And it also elevates me, remembering I am just a dot in this like massive group of human beings as well. Hey, that's awe, right? This podcast is about awe, right? Yes, it is. Okay. How do I have the best, most aligned clients who love, adore, respect, and admire me and refer me to other amazing clients? Well, yes. I mean, I feel like the people we choose to work with is very important because it's always a two-way street. It's an energetic exchange. And so when you're saying yes to someone and they're saying yes to you, you're in agreement of some sorts with each other. And so who you allow into your space is important. And to me, like aligning with people who know that you're in full support of them and they're in full support of you, and that we're learning from each other. And whenever there is a trigger, there it's an opportunity for repair, right? And so to me, that's part of a healthy, soul aligned client relationship. And that is who I attract, beautifully enough. All right. How do I have such beautiful, authentic, loving, warm, generous, nourishing, creative, aligned tribe who I love to grow, play, create, work, travel with along with our families? Yes, this is the dream, right? I have my soul sisters who I chat with every other week and sometimes weekly. And I travel with them and I love them so much. And I feel so honored that as someone who has me, I have four brothers, as someone who has four brothers, um, it felt so, I felt so loved when I was invited to be part of these sisters because they're sisters and they like absorbed me. I think they just felt bad for me because they're like, oh God, you don't have any females around you. That's family. And so they are my loves. And there's tribes beyond that too. So I have a knowingness in my heart, and then I also have room in my heart for all the people I haven't met yet who could be part of the tribe. Okay. How do I get to be of deep, loving service to others through connection, education, facilitation? Celebrate good times. Come on, celebration, maturation, laughter, food, gathering, dialoguing, evolution, creation, speaking, coaching, and other mysterious ways. That's a whole lot in one. Ultimately, it is being in service to others and to something that is bigger than self. And so maybe I should change it to that and let all the other specificities arise in the moment. All right. How do I have access to my own $10 million net worth that supports me, my family, and communities so well as and an art and science foundation? So this is in the works. I do not have that yet. I'm putting it out there into the universe. And I feel it. I see it. I know it. And every day it is present in me in the way I move and act and speak and human and divine. So that feels, it used to feel scary saying that. And then it started to feel normal. And then how do I have access? Like my mind just creates all the ways and bridges to access that as a resource. How do I get to constantly magnetize wealth and wealth is prosperity, right? It's not just money, it's resources, it's health, it's connection, it is possibility. So, how do I get to constantly magnetize wealth in pleasurable, unconventional, and unexpected ways? And I love this question because I don't know if you know this, but I'm creative and I love how my neural pathways create new ones in order to create new ways of being and living and loving in the world. So that prompt taps into that. How do I get to align with folks who believe, trust, support my forward thinking, visionary ways? I've had people from my past who have supported and championed the work that I do because it is, it's usually things that the world hasn't seen before, and it can be hard for others to grasp it. And so when someone is aligned with you and gets you and wants to share your mission and vision with the world, it is that much more powerful because it's now beyond you as a person. It's beyond me as a person. It will take a life on its own when other people are conjoined with it and support it and push the vision forward out into the world. And so that has helped me align with people now. And I know it's also going to help me align with people in the future where we mutually grow each other's visions and they're beneficiaries to each other. And there's what was I going to say? There's like an intertwining. I can't remember the word, but hopefully you get what I mean. And then last, I borrowed this from, I think her name is Gabby Bernstein. She is someone I found on Instagram. I think she's like a coach and motivational speaker type of person. And one thing she shared was these 4 phrases. Today I want to feel, and you can say whatever it is. Today I choose to be. Today I choose to receive. Today I choose to give. And it's kind of like a fill in the blank, right? So if there's a focus that you want that day, you just insert the focus here. Sometimes I will have something that I will insert. Other times I will just leave it blank. And that's how I start as part of my sacred morning start. So in addition to activating awe, I start with that as well. And it has made the steps in front of me that used to feel invisible, visible. And I invite you to try it too. I'd love to hear if you have tried it, if you already speak in prompts, or what it is you say to yourself. How do you speak to yourself every day? Like, do you speak it with a kind tone, with a visionary tone? Are you beating yourself up all the time? Like, how do you speak to yourself? How are you kind to yourself? How are you compassionate to yourself? I hope this has been helpful. And thank you for allowing me to just be me and show up and share with you in mostly freeform style with a few things that I specifically want to put out into the world. And I look forward to connecting with you next time. So until the future, here's a little kiss for you. Ciao, ciao. I'll see you soon.